This week I learned it's called the darkness that comes before, not the bright sunny shit that comes before. Hey, what's up, bookworms? Mike back with another weekly update as August is quickly coming to a close, and it has been a fun and exciting and some newfound interests have developed over the course of August. And we're going to talk about those as per usual. We're going to begin, like always, guys, by talking about what am I reading. Just like I said last week, I am just focusing on this, and I'm getting closer. I'm about, I think the Kindle said I was about 80% mark, and I'm trying to use the Kindle more because I'm just beating the crap out of this book. Flipping back and forth, to the glossary, to the maps, to the phrases and things like that. But I have really good things to say about this because I feel like once you get about the 60% mark of this, boom, all of a sudden everything kind of becomes clearer as far as like the lore dumps, the names, the locations, the regions, the alliances, the many different factions all start to make a little bit. I want to say that they make clear sense as much as it's just they make enough sense to where it's not hindering you from going forward in the story anymore. And I'm liking where it's at quite a bit. So the funny thing about this is there's two characters in this story. I just want to prove that I can say these names here. ℚ𝕦𝕤𝕤𝕤𝕤 obviously is in our prologue, and when the character does show back up in the main story, is kind of wrapped into a storyline with ℚ𝕦𝕤𝕤𝕤𝕤. Now this pairing, for some reason, has completely revitalized my interest in the overarching narrative. Because I was saying I was obsessed with the lore. I loved the land. I thought everything about the history was very good. But like the story was kind of like, it's fine. It's nothing I haven't really heard before. Yeah, this land is very cruel and punishing. But I'm way more interested in the histories than I am the actual narrative. I'm going to say I am more interested in Nair and Kellis's story, their little tag team duo that they've kind of created here, which they both totally want to kill each other, by the way. I think I'm more interested in that than I am the actual Holy War. Now, I know that's going to tie into the Holy War, obviously, because I know what they're marching towards. But the whole stuff with Naor and Moengus, like their back history and how that relates to Kellis, that stuff is way more interesting to me so far than the actual Holy War has been. Although I do want to know more about Confus. I really do like Icamian's story and things like that. But these two together, really, it's just giving me very. I don't want to make the comparisons to Malazan a lot, but I am really getting a lot of comparisons with Karsa Orlong as compared to Naor here. And I like that. Karsa was my first or second favorite character in Malazan when I did actually, where I got to my stopping point in Malazan. We'll talk about that another time because I know it's going to come up. But I thought that was just me just kind of, wanting it to be that, but several others have said, yes, it's very much. Both of those characters were kind of like their versions of Conan the Barbarian, which is obviously a character I love. But I love that you do have a barbarian-style character that's not just a meathead, is actually quite intelligent, and has a lot of layers to him, as Naor clearly does. But the more I get to learn more about these Druane characters, am I saying it right? Druane? Is it Druane? I forget. Anyway, whatever Kellis is, whatever his order is, I'm really liking the dynamic there that's causing between these two characters. And now we've got this other character, Surway, who's kind of entered into the storyline. And it's good. It's really good, guys. I'm really excited about where this is headed. And knowing that this is going to very much land on a cliffhanger, no doubt, because I'm like, I got about 120 pages left, and I don't feel like anything's going to be actually resolved this book. So I'm excited to see what comes, what comes after the darkness. Obviously, a lot of people told me that book 2, I think is that Thousandfold Thought or Warrior Prophet? I don't know, whichever book 2 is. A lot of people said that's their favorite in this trilogy, and they think it will be mine as well. So that's really awesome. I feel like now that you get all the lore dumps kind of, fixed in the brain a little bit, they've been uploaded through the matrix into your brain. I think it makes it a little easier to go through now. But yeah, those names were still just throwing me for a loop. Like when I saw Nair's name first came up, I was like, cut the shit, Baker. This is ridiculous. But it very much is feeling like that marriage of Lord of the Rings and Dune that I was kind of sold it as. And just in a very much more cruel and punishing world than both of those stories. So I'm liking it quite a bit. I am. Right now, obviously nothing's in stone, but unless it just really shits the bed here at the end, there's no way this won't be my book of the month because it's just... It's definitely more unique than anything I've ever read out there. And I'm liking it a lot. And I will be continuing, even if it's not next month. We'll get into that eventually. But I will be continuing with the series, no doubt. And I'm excited to see how this first book does. And so what am I going to read? Obviously, all I've got left for August is The Darkness That Comes Before. I'd imagine I finish that Tuesday or Wednesday or so at the latest. And if I get started on anything early, it'll be the next ℙ𝕦𝕣𝕠𝕜𝕤 book, which is Ordinary Grace by William Kent Krueger. We'll be reading that with Dr. Philip Chase, with Brian over at BellTube, and John from Talking Story. If you've missed it, ℙ𝕦𝕤𝕠𝕜𝕤 is just kind of like our book club. We're going to read a book once a quarter. Get something that's out of our comfort zone. Maybe a little bit of a classic, might be something just drama, just fiction, just something that's not just strictly sci-fi fantasy like we do all the time. Something less than about 500 pages, a little out of our comfort zone. Give us ideas to talk about some new things, and then we'll talk about it on each one of our channels. So I had the last one for Vanished Birds. I think Philip has this one, and then Philip gets to pick the book that we're going to do for the final quarter of the year. And I'm expecting to be, Beowulf or something again, because that's what Philip does. He was kind of joking with us, asking how up on our Norse were we. So we'll see what Philip does pick. But we should be having that conversation, I think, in early September. So that's why we are all going to be kicking off the month of September reading Ordinary Grace, a book I've heard amazing things about. Like, everyone who's talked about it has said there's like zero chance I won't love it, due to my love of, small town America, in kind of like that time period, coming of age story. Feels very much like the northern version of Boy's Life, just reading the description, which is excellent, because Boy's Life, while it's more Southern Gothic, where this takes place in Minnesota, same kind of time period. So I'm sure we'll have similar themes, and I'm excited to see those, obviously from a different part of the country. If you guys don't know, if you're not from the States, you don't know, the South of the U.S. and north of the U.S. are like different countries, totally, because they are very, very different in their beliefs and the way that their normal life goes through, even in the 1960s. But I'm excited to get into it, just based off of, I had that live stream yesterday, and someone told me that they thought it was very much like if Mark Twain was writing a book today. And that's an amazing sales pitch. I love that. That is very good. But yeah, that's what I have planned after I finish The Darkness That Comes Before. How about this week on the channel? Did a couple of things. I did get out an actual book review. You guys remember those book reviews? We used to do them quite a bit. It doesn't seem like you guys stopped liking it. That cup's bigger than you think, so you have to turn it longer. So sorry, I like my sips to be faster than that, but sometimes these things happen. So I did a review of The Mercy of Gods. That is the brand new James S.A. Corey book. If you've been watching the weekly updates, you knew where that review was headed. I was kind of let down. I was very let down by that book. And it seemed like I felt like I was alone on an island, because when I first said it was going to be one of my biggest disappointments, I got lots of pushback on it. But in that review, a lot of people were saying, like, yeah, I'm kind of feeling the same. And there's people, they were saying, like, they are in Expanse fan groups, like on Facebook and Reddit and stuff, and a lot of people there, it's pretty mixed there too. So a lot of people are looking at it, hey, this is a book one. Obviously, they're setting the stage for what's to come. I get that. My biggest complaint with it was just the characters just didn't work for me. And that's been my downfall with a lot of sci-fi. Now, I don't want to label sci-fi as just not for me because of this, but it just seems like a lot of sci-fi is more on the idea, the technology, the aliens, the space. And I like those things. I want to care about those characters that are there as well. And Mercy of Gods, not only did it not do that, it had a hard time for me remembering who half these characters were. Like I said, I had to keep flipping back to the earlier pages to even remember who some of them were. And that was a real struggle for me. So I'm always going to be honest. I felt like I give plenty of things that I did like about the book in the review. And my criticism is always constructive. And I want other people to like it. So if you liked it, that's awesome. That's what I want. I want you to enjoy things. So never look at it like that. And also, never take my word for gospel, guys. Always, please pick up the book and decide for yourself. Don't take my word for it. Red Rising and Sun Eater, two series that get brought up a lot in comparison with one another. Now, I was guilty of myself. I think when I reviewed Empire of Silence way back in 2020, I said, imagine if Patrick Rothfuss had written Red Rising and Darrow started as a gold. That was the kind of comparison I made. So it's hard for me to say, stop comparing these two series. That's exactly what I did. I made a video about comparing these because I don't feel like the two series are really very much alike at all. That was just a quick comparison that I made 4 years ago, and that's going to happen sometimes. But I look back on it now and I'm like, they're really way, way more different, besides the fact that they both the authors. I think the authors have more in common than either their series do, because both Christopher and Pierce will talk your ear off about Plutarch and Cicero for a while if you want them to. But I don't think that really their series were. But yet they both very much love the Roman history, as a lot of people did. So there's some of those things kind of wrapped in there. But outside of that, yeah, they both take place in space. They both have male protagonists that might be unreliable narrators. That's really it. I don't have a ton of comparisons to make to where I feel like these are the same series. But it really just started because I felt like every time I talk about Red Rising, there'd be someone who dropped in the comments or messages or responded to tweets or whatever that just said like Sun Eater greater than Red Rising. And whenever I talk about Red Rising, I get the same thing. Or I'm sorry, whenever I talk about Sun Eater, I get the same thing, or hear about how it's slow and it's boring, and Red Rising, at least something happened. And I was like, why have you guys turned these two into rivals? I don't understand. So that's really what that video is about. And it's funny because in the comments, it's all people comparing Red Rising and Sun Eater. So you get what you give sometimes. It is. And I did my end of summer live stream, Ask Me Anything. This was just, I hadn't done an AMA in a while. I did one, a quick one, just right before the kids got home from school, when it was my 5th anniversary on BookTube, and I just did a quick one that day, but that was never really meant to be a thing. These I'll usually just keep going as long as you guys are talking to me. I did about 2.5 hours on this one, but I wanted a little reading time before the kids got home, because when you try to read Prince of Nothing, guys, you need it to be quiet around the house. It's not anything you listen to in loud places or with children interrupting you every 5 seconds. But live streams are always a lot of fun for me to just kind of get out there, answer some questions that people feel like maybe, I'm not able to respond to your comments all on my videos, something like that. And you just got a burning question you just got to know. Or if you just want some things that were outside of books, because I got lots of sports questions, music questions, movie questions, gaming questions. Just a little bit of a peek behind the curtain, I guess you say, of everyday life. I love doing those live streams. They're a lot of fun for me. And while I'll say that I like, being able to talk to someone and they talk back, that's kind of the same. Giving my audience a chance to talk by, asking questions, making comments, things like that, and just kind of talking about those topics. So if you missed it live, no big deal. The replay is there. I hope you guys will enjoy it. If it can make your drive to work just a little easier or something, I hope that it does do that. Now, it's not on my channel, but I was on the SFF Addicts podcast with Adrian Gibson, MJ Kuhn. They run that over there for FanFi Addict, and it was awesome because I have actually listened to their podcast since before I even was really big on BookTube yet. So it's kind of how I felt about when I was on HowlerPod, and I felt like, oh, cool, I used to listen to these guys before I had a BookTube channel, and now they're on my channel. It's just so crazy. But they had me, they had Evan over at Book Reviews Kill, and they had Kayla from Kay's Hidden Shelf, and we just kind of talked about, content creation and whatnot for a couple of hours. It was a great time. I don't know if the video is actually posted yet. It's obviously more of a podcast, so you can get it on iTunes and Spotify and things like that. But they do usually upload the video version to their YouTube page. So I'll drop the link to that here, and hopefully it is eventually up and you guys can watch that, because that was a blast. I think I could have talked with them for 5 hours. It was so much fun. And Adrian and MJ are just amazing co-hosts. And I love listening to those two talk. And the fact that I got to actually speak and talk back with them was kind of cool. It's kind of full circle for me. How about some next week plans, guys? Got a couple of things. We're going to be going out of town the first week of September, because we're going to that signing up in Dallas with Christopher Rocchio and Ryan Cahill. So I've got kind of things planned out, and just it's going to be a mess. It's going to be a mess for the next couple of weeks, because I don't know exactly what all we're going to do together while we're up there. We do have some plans, but I don't know how many sit-down conversations I'm going to get to have with them, things like that, or if we're just going to want to hang out and not even want to get the camera out. I don't know yet. So I got some things I'm going to kind of be moving up a little earlier than I had planned to, just because we're going to be in preparation for that trip. I'll be doing my TBR for everything I plan to read in September, and it was some interesting choices on there. One I actually took a poll for and got some answers and some responses that I was not really surprised, but it's cool that I feel like this is one of those I've wanted to read for a long time, and I'm glad it's going to happen. So I will be continuing my one horror, one sci-fi, one fantasy, and one miscellaneous book for the foreseeable future. I feel like my ban on big books is starting to wear off, so I feel like I could start actually introducing some clunkers onto the TBR again soon, but not in September. I feel like September's the last one I kind of have planned out to where, I'm going to kind of stick with what's been working, and then October is going to be a whole different beast altogether. And speaking of chonkers, clunkers, whatever you want to call them, I did a video recently about tired of big books. Here's some things that I recommend. Well, I'm going to say, hey, are you ready for some chonkers? I'm going to talk about some 5-star reads that are chonkers and some big books. If you're really feeling the need for a big old boy, I feel like I've got some ideas that I could talk about in a video like that. And I'll be getting that one out this week. Whereas, the week of, that signing and whatnot, I have no idea what the schedule is going to look like. So I did move that video forward a little bit. So we're getting that this week instead. A couple of TV and movie talk things before I go, guys. A lot of people asked me in my live stream yesterday, did I see this trailer for Lord of the Rings, The War for the Rohirrim? And I did since watch it. I'm more open to this, I think, than I am to like The Hunt for Gollum, which I think is just stupid. With this, at least it is somewhat based on Tolkien's canon, so I think they can do this. It's about Helm Hammerhand. It's what Helm's Deep was actually named after. So it's one of the greatest kings in Rohan history. So I think there's lots of material there. I think this is probably 150 years before the events of The Lord of the Rings. So they've got plenty of stuff to kind of work with here. I think some of the actual, is it Miranda Otto who played Éowyn? I think she's actually returning to the voice cast and she's narrating it. So that's a nice tie-in. I was anxious to see if the original trio was Fran Walsh, Philippa Boyens, and Peter Jackson weren't involved with this at all. One third of them are coming back. Philippa Boyens will actually be returning to do some of the writing for this along with others. With me on the animation stuff, it looks like the animation looks like Dragon Prince on Netflix, which is cool. I like that animation style. It could be good. It's nothing I'm going to be tripping over myself to go see. But with me, guys, animation is kind of iffy. I'm not one of those who can just watch tons of animation in a row. That's why, even though as much as I thought Avatar was amazing, it still took me like 4 months to watch all that. It's kind of like manga or comics with me, where I'll be real streaky, or I'll be real streaky. I'm having a tongue-tied kind of day. I'm real streaky in that I will watch a bunch and then I won't watch nothing. Now I'll read a bunch and then I won't read nothing. That's kind of how it goes with comics. That's kind of how it goes with animation. But with this, cool. I'll give it a chance. I'll give it a chance for sure. We are started watching this mini-series of the Ken Follett novel, World Without End. Now, that's the sequel to Pillars of the Earth. It takes place in this Kingsbridge series. And now that I've started watching, I don't really necessarily call it like a sequel. It takes place in the same location, each one of those books in Kingsbridge, but they're usually 100-something, 200 years later. Like this one is more around the 1300s and dealing with the 100 Years' War and the Black Plague, between England and France. So it's much, much different than Pillars of the Earth. But it was really cool when I first started watching it and being like, oh, hey, there's the church that they built in Pillars of the Earth. Now, the Pillars of the Earth miniseries was really good. And in hindsight, you look back at it and you're like, wow, what a talented cast. I mean, Haley Atwell, Eddie Redmayne, Ian McShane, Donald Sutherland. They had so many great people. Matthew McFadden, who really broke out big with Succession. That was an amazing cast collection they put together for that. With this, I'm not really seeing anybody that I really am like, oh, I've seen him before. I think one guy is playing Ralph Fitzgerald. He was actually on The Haunting of Hill House, so he's been on one of those Mike Flanagan series. But outside of that, I don't really know very much of the cast, but it's shocking. The source material is probably really good, so the series is really good. We've got 2 episodes left. We watched like the first 6. I didn't expect to like it this much. The thing was, I bought it back when I bought Pillars of the Earth, because I was like, I didn't even know they had done an adaptation of this. I really like Pillars of the Earth. It looks like it's mostly the same team. Ken Follett's consulting on it. Maybe it could be good too. Yes, it is quite good. And the thing was, I was already planning to read World Without End sometime before the end of the year, but this is only solidified that. That is happening because it's really, really good, guys. And a lot of people that have read the book have told me that they feel like it's as good as Pillars of the Earth, at least as good. And I would say that the miniseries is proving that. I am really, really into it. I have no idea how it's going to end. It's real twisty and turny. It's not for everybody. What really surprised about this miniseries, I had no idea if it was a made-for-TV, if it was cable. What was it? It's violence. It is in your face. And as you know, when you're dealing with historical fiction, there's going to be some things that are very uncomfortable. Yes, it is I think, more uncomfortable than Pillars of the Earth was. And that had William in it. So it's a really, really good adaptation, I think. I mean, I'm expecting, because I know that these are very faithful. So I'm presuming that they're a good adaptation. Some people told me they felt like it deviated a little bit more than the Pillars of the Earth adaptation did. But even that kind of went off on its own a few times. And some things you just have to do that with TV. But it does have me very excited to read the book because and watch these last 2 episodes because it's been very good. It's been very good. Production value is really good. Don't go into it expecting an HBO budget. It doesn't look cheap, but it doesn't look like, Game of Thrones or House of the Dragon. It doesn't have that kind of budget, clearly, but it never, ever lose immersion because you're like, oh, that looks completely phony. A lot of it feels like it is shot on location in some of these places. It's really good. I really liked it. The acting is spectacular on it. And actually, it does have one. It has Cynthia Nixon, who played Miranda on Sex and the City. She's actually in it. Okay. I wouldn't have known that if I didn't see her name in the credits. She's like a million in that role. Really good. Really, really good series, guys. I hope you guys will check it out, and I hope you'll read World Without End with me when I get into that later this year. I'll let you know with plenty of time. We watched Twisters. That was our family movie on Monday night, and I'm just going to say about Twisters is it's everything you kind of want in a summer blockbuster. It's just a good time. Good old popcorn flick. Well, I didn't like it as much as the original, obviously, but this is based off of the original idea written by Michael Crichton from back in 1996, the Bill Paxton movie, Helen Hunt. And I was kind of concerned about it because, a lot of things these days are over-reliance on CGI. But it looked good. It looked good. There was never a moment that I was watching it where I was like, oh, those tornadoes look phony. Or, any of the damage looks phony. Really good stuff. Really good action set pieces. The love story was iffy, but it's just kind of what you expect in a movie like that. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I forget the gentleman's name who plays kind of the lead role, the lead male role in the movie. He was in Top Gun Maverick. But yeah, he's pretty good. I think that guy's got. He just looks like if you could have ripped a guy out of a fantasy or a fantasy romance kind of novel. I feel like that's kind of the guy who's got that square jaw. That's what I get out of it. But it was really good. I like the idea that it played with how the technology had changed over the course of almost 30 years since 1996. You do see a cameo of Dorothy, if you know what Dorothy is, and you've seen the original. But it's good. It was pretty good. I liked it a lot, and it felt like. I don't want to say it felt like it was like a nice hat tip to the original because there really weren't very many mentions of anything in the original. Like it could have been really lazy and they could have made one of these people, Helen Hunt and Bill Paxton's kid or something like that, but they didn't do that. So I don't really talk about very much of that at all, but it did feel like it was very true to that same world that they set up in that movie. And yeah, it's a recommend for me for sure, and it's just a good old time at the old movie. So check it out if you haven't. So guys, that was my week. I'd love to know what you guys are up to. So why don't you drop in the comments, let me know what you're watching, what you're reading, what you're listening to, what you are playing, and I will talk to you there.